You know, some of the biggest stories in global politics happen in the shadows, long before they ever hit the headlines. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of those stories, a huge, mysterious, and honestly, historic shakeup happening at the very top of China's military.
So to really get why this is such a big deal, you have to start with the picture China wants us to see. Just last year, an official came out and said that in a chaotic world, China is the one biggest certainty. The message was clear. We're stable, we're predictable, we've got it all under control.
But right as they were saying that, something completely different was happening behind closed doors. The very people in charge of China's military power, well, they just started disappearing.
So what on earth is going on? Let's dig into this massive military shakeup.
Look, this is not just some routine reshuffling. We're talking about the absolute highest level of command. The most senior uniformed officer, Zhang Yusha, is being investigated. Another top general, Liu Zhenli, same story. I mean, to find a purge this big, you have to go all the way back to 1971. That's the scale of the political earthquake we're witnessing here.
And it's really important to remember what the PLA actually is. With 2 million members, it's not just a national army like in other countries. It's the armed wing of the ruling Communist Party. Its first loyalty is to the party, not the state.
In this whole thing, it's not just happening in the military. In 2025 alone, more than 1 million officials from all over the Communist Party were investigated. This is the biggest, most intense crackdown of the entire Xi Jinping era. The message being sent? Nobody is untouchable.
Which of course leads to the big question. What is really happening inside this political black box? What's the true reason for this historic purge?
Well, there are basically two competing ideas for what this is all about. Is it a war on corruption, or is it a raw power play for absolute control?
So the official story, the one you'll hear from Beijing, is that this is about cleaning house and fighting corruption. But a lot of experts think that's just a convenient excuse. The deeper reality? This looks a lot like a campaign to enforce absolute, unquestioning loyalty to Xi Jinping and to get rid of anyone who might, even potentially, be insubordinate.
And you know, we actually have a pretty big clue from the PLA's own newspaper. It accused the generals of causing immense damage to the political ecology of the army. Now, when the party uses a phrase like political ecology, they're not talking about money. They're talking about loyalty. It seems their real crime wasn't being greedy, it was being politically unreliable.
Okay, so what's the consequence of all this? What happens when you just remove all of that top-level experience? Well, you get a hollowed-out high command.
Just think about this. The Central Military Commission, that's basically the PLA's board of directors, its strategic brain. Since 2022, 5 out of its 6 uniformed officers have been kicked out. That's almost everyone. The command structure at the very top is now shockingly empty.
And the experience that's being lost is just staggering. Take General Zhang Yusha. This guy was a real rarity, one of the only senior leaders with actual direct combat experience. He was widely seen as one of the very few people who could give Xi frank, unfiltered advice, maybe even push back a little. And now, he's out.
So you have to ask yourself, with all these experienced people gone, who's left to advise Xi in a real crisis? When things get hot in the Taiwan Strait, who is going to have the guts to tell him what he needs to hear, and not just what they think he wants to hear?
And that, of course, brings us to what might be the most dangerous flashpoint on the planet right now, the Taiwan equation.
This whole leadership crisis isn't happening in a vacuum. It's happening while the PLA is undergoing a mind-blowing military buildup. The deadline for being able to invade Taiwan is 2027. By 2030, they're projected to have over 1,000 nuclear warheads. By 2035, 9 aircraft carriers. The military hardware is getting more powerful by the day.
And right there, that's the central danger. You've got all this incredible new hardware, but a huge leadership vacuum at the top. It's like the human software, the experience, the wisdom, the judgment needed to use that power correctly is being deleted. And that is a recipe for a catastrophic miscalculation.
Which brings us full circle, right back to that idea of certainty we started with. Only now it sounds a whole lot more ominous.
Because what happens after a purge like this? Well, it's pretty predictable. All those empty seats get filled by yes men, by people chosen for their loyalty, not their competence. And that creates a classic echo chamber, a bubble where a leader only hears praise and agreement, and any voice of caution is silenced.
So in this quest for absolute control, for absolute certainty, Xi Jinping might be creating the most dangerous certainty of all, the certainty that in a crisis, he'll only be surrounded by people who agree with him. And in a world this uncertain, that offers no comfort at all.